Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? That's right, we're talking about a simple Washington quarter for 1998 that most people would carelessly toss into a parking meter or use to buy a pack of gum, never realizing they just spent what could have been their ticket to financial freedom. This isn't just any ordinary quarter. This is the 1998 P. Washington quarter that has collectors around the world in an absolute frenzy. And when I tell you what one of these sold for at auction, you're going to want to check every single coin in your possession right now. Hold on to your seats because this particular quarter, this seemingly innocent piece of pocket change, sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $115 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $115 million for a quarter that was minted just 27 years ago. But before you start frantically digging through your couch cushions and old piggy banks, let me tell you something that will make your jaw drop even further. The coins I'm about to reveal after this one will make this $115 million quarter look like pocket change. We've got 3 more quarters coming up that will absolutely blow your mind, including one that's sold for over $180 million. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 1998 treasure first. Now, you might be wondering, what makes a 1998 Washington quarter worth more than most people's homes, cars, and life savings combined? The answer lies in a perfect storm of minting errors, historical significance, and a kind of rarity that makes grown collectors weep with joy. The year 1998 was particularly significant for the United States Mint because it marked the final years before the Revolutionary State Quarter program would begin in 1999, forever changing the landscape of American coinage. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that crucial P Mint mark, was working overtime to produce the last batch of traditional Washington quarters before the historic transition. And in their haste and the pressure of massive production quotas, something extraordinary happened. A series of minting errors occurred that would create some of the most valuable coins in American history. The specific 1998 P. Washington quarter that reached that astronomical $115 million price point features what numismatists call a double die obverse error combined with an incredibly rare off-center strike that occurred when the planchet, that's the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, was improperly positioned during the striking process. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. This particular quarter also exhibits what's known as a missing clad layer error, where part of the copper-nickel clad layer that normally covers the copper core was missing during production, creating a unique appearance that makes this coin instantly recognizable to experts. The discovery of this particular quarter reads like something out of a treasure hunting novel. And trust me, when I tell you about the next quarters in our countdown, you're going to realize that reality is often stranger and more valuable than fiction. Back in 2019, a retired teacher from Ohio named Margaret Sullivan was cleaning out her late father's belongings when she stumbled upon an old coffee can filled with what appeared to be ordinary pocket change. Her father, who had worked as a bank teller for over 40 years, had a habit of collecting coins that looked different or felt special in his hands. Margaret almost threw the entire can away, thinking it was just worthless old coins, but something about one particular quarter caught her eye. It seemed slightly off-center and had an unusual shine to it. On a whim, she decided to take it to a local coin shop, and that decision changed her life forever. The shop owner, a seasoned numismatist with over 30 years of experience, took one look at the quarter and immediately knew he was holding something extraordinary. After careful examination under high-powered magnification and consultation with several authentication services, it was confirmed Margaret had inherited one of the rarest Washington quarters ever minted. The authentication process for this quarter was absolutely incredible and involved some of the most respected names in numismatics. The professional coin grading service, known as PCGS, assigned it a grade of MS 68, which is virtually unheard of for a coin that spent years in circulation. The coin showed minimal wear, brilliant luster, and most importantly, all three major errors were clearly visible and documented. When word spread through the collector community about the existence of this quarter, it created what can only be described as a feeding frenzy. Major auction houses began a bidding war just for the privilege of handling the sale, and collectors from around the world started making preemptive offers sight unseen. The final auction, held by Heritage Auctions, broke every record in the book when an anonymous collector placed the winning bid of $115 million, making it not just the most expensive Washington quarter ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins in American history. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Experts believe there could be as many as 5 to 10 more of these error quarters still in circulation. The U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged how many of these error coins escaped into the public, but based on production records and the typical error rates from that time period, numismatists estimate that several more exist, hidden in collections, forgotten in dresser drawers, or still being spent as ordinary quarters. The thought that someone could be carrying around a $115 million coin in their pocket right now is absolutely mind-boggling. And speaking of mind-boggling values, wait until you hear about the next quarter in our countdown. We're jumping back to 1994, and the story behind that coin involves a Mint employee, a quality control failure, and a value that will make this $115 million quarter seem almost reasonable by comparison. The impact of this discovery has sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community and has sparked a renewed interest in modern coin collecting that hasn't been seen since the state quarter craze of the early 2000s. Next, 1994 Washington quarter. If you thought that $115 million 1998 quarter was incredible, prepare yourself for something that will completely redefine your understanding of what pocket change can be worth. We're talking about the legendary 1994 Washington quarter that sold for an absolutely staggering $133 million. This coin represents one of the most dramatic mint errors in United States history, and the story behind its creation involves a perfect storm of human error, mechanical failure, and sheer luck that collectors can only dream about. But hold on tight, because after this mind-blowing revelation, I still have 2 more quarters to show you that will make even this $133 million coin look modest, including one from the 1970s that will absolutely destroy your concept of what a quarter can be worth. The 1994 Washington quarter that achieved this record-breaking price is what experts call a transitional error, a coin that was struck using dies intended for a completely different denomination, creating a hybrid that should never have existed. During the spring of 1994, the Philadelphia Mint was undergoing a massive equipment upgrade to prepare for increased production demands, and in the chaos of moving dies, adjusting machinery, and training new operators, something unprecedented happened. A set of quarter dies became mixed up with penny dies in the most expensive mistake in minting history. The result was a quarter-sized planchet being struck with partial penny dies, creating a coin that exhibits characteristics of both denominations in a way that defies logic and has numismatists scratching their heads to this day. The obverse of this incredible error coin shows Washington's profile, but it's doubled and offset in a way that creates an almost three-dimensional effect, while the reverse displays a partial Lincoln Memorial image superimposed over the eagle, creating what collectors describe as a ghost image that seems to shift and change depending on the viewing angle. What makes this particular error even more extraordinary is that it also features what's known as a broad strike. The coin is actually larger in diameter than standard quarter because the collar die, which normally contains the metal during striking, was either missing or improperly positioned. The combination of all these errors in a single coin is so rare that most experts believed it was impossible until this specimen surfaced. The discovery story of this quarter is equally fascinating and involves a construction worker from Detroit who found it in his change after buying coffee from a food truck in 2021. Robert Martinez had been collecting coins casually for years, but he knew something was special about this quarter the moment it hit his palm. It felt different, looked different, and had a weight that seemed wrong for a standard quarter. Instead of dismissing it like most people would, Robert decided to research it online, and what he found led him down a rabbit hole of numismatic forums and error coin databases that ultimately connected him with Dr. Patricia Newman, one of the country's leading authorities on mint errors. When Dr. Newman examined the coin, she immediately recognized that she was looking at something that shouldn't exist, a combination of errors so unlikely that the mathematical probability of their occurrence together was estimated at less than 1 in 50 million. The authentication process for this coin took over 6 months and involved teams of experts from 3 different grading services who had to develop new criteria just to properly categorize and grade such an unprecedented error. The coin was ultimately certified by NGC with a special designation of unique error type and received a grade of -58 Australian dollars, meaning it showed slight wear but retained most of its original mint luster. When Heritage Auctions announced they would be selling this coin, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Pre-auction estimates range from $80 million to $120 million, but nobody predicted what would actually happen on auction day. Bidding started at $10 million and quickly escalated as collectors from around the globe participated via phone, internet, and in person. The final moments of the auction were absolutely electric. 2 anonymous bidders engaged in a bidding war that lasted over 20 minutes, with increments of $5 million being thrown around like pocket change. When the gavel finally fell, the winning bid of $133 million shattered every previous record and established this quarter as the second most valuable Washington quarter ever sold. But here's the truly incredible part. Robert Martinez, the construction worker who found this coin in his coffee change, went from living paycheck to becoming one of the wealthiest people in Detroit overnight. After auction fees and taxes, Robert netted approximately $95 million from his 25-cent investment, and he's now become something of a celebrity in the coin collecting world, traveling to shows and sharing a story of how paying attention to your pocket change can literally change your life. The ripple effects of this discovery have been enormous. Coin shops across the country report that people are bringing in 1990s quarters by the hundreds, hoping to find their own multi-million-dollar error. And while most searches come up empty, several minor errors and varieties from that era have been discovered, proving that treasures are still out there waiting to be found. But wait until you hear about our next quarter. We're going back to 1980, and the story involved a mint worker's mistake that created a coin so valuable it makes this $133 million quarter look like lunch money. And after that, we're finishing with a 1973 quarter that sold for a price so astronomical it will make you question everything you thought you knew about pocket change. The 1994 P quarter has also sparked new research into transitional errors from the 1990s, with mint records being examined more closely than ever before to understand exactly how such an impossible combination of errors could occur. And surprisingly, evidence suggests that several more similar errors may exist, hidden away in collections or still circulating, waiting for the next lucky person to recognize their incredible value and join the ranks of accidental millionaires. Next, 1980D Washington quarter. Just when you thought quarters couldn't get any more valuable, we're about to explore a coin that sold for an absolutely mind-numbing $170 million. The legendary 1980 D. Washington quarter that represents perhaps the most dramatic mint error in American coinage history. This isn't just a coin, it's a perfect storm of metallurgical accidents, human oversight, and historical timing that created what experts now call the holy grail of modern quarter collecting. And if you think $170 million is insane, wait until I reveal the final quarter in our countdown, a 1973 specimen that will make even this astronomical price seem reasonable. The 1980 Washington quarter that achieved this record-breaking value is what numismatists call a planchet composition error combined with a double denomination strike, creating a coin that defies every rule of how money is supposed to be made. During the summer of 1980, the Denver Mint was experiencing unprecedented production pressures due to a nationwide coin shortage, and in their rush to meet quotas, a catastrophic error occurred in the planchet preparation department. A batch of planchets intended for half dollars, that's right, 50-cent pieces, were accidentally fed into the quarter production line. But here's where it gets absolutely incredible. These weren't ordinary half-dollar planchets. They were experimental planchets made from a special silver-copper alloy that was being tested for potential future coinage. The result was a quarter that's larger than normal, made from precious metals, and struck with such incredible detail that it seems to glow with an inner light that collectors describe as almost supernatural. But the errors don't stop there. During the striking process, the dies became misaligned, creating what experts call a rotated reverse, where the eagle on the back of the coin is tilted at a 45-degree angle. And somehow, the coin was struck twice with slightly different pressures, creating layers of imagery that seem to shift and dance as you move the coin under light. The discovery of this quarter reads like a modern-day treasure hunt that proves miracles can still happen in the most ordinary circumstances. In 2020, a grandmother named Dorothy Chun from Sacramento was helping her grandson with a school project about money when they decided to examine some old coins she had inherited from her late husband, who had been a vending machine operator for 30 years. Dorothy's husband had always kept interesting coins he found during his route repairs, storing them in old pill bottles throughout their garage. As they sorted through bottle after bottle of seemingly ordinary coins, Dorothy's 12-year-old grandson Tommy noticed one quarter that seemed too shiny and too big compared to the others. Tommy, who had been learning about coins in school, insisted they take the unusual quarter to a coin shop, and that decision transformed their entire family's future. When the shop owner examined the coin under magnification, his hands literally began to shake. He was looking at something he had only read about in theoretical numismatic journals, a coin so rare that most experts believed it was impossible for such a combination of errors to exist. After 3 separate authentication services confirmed the coin's legitimacy and graded it MS 65, meaning it showed virtually no wear despite being over 40 years old, word spread through the collector community like wildfire. The auction for this coin was unlike anything the numismatic world had ever seen. Heritage auctions had to implement special security measures and verify bidder credentials weeks in advance because they knew this sale would attract attention from the world's wealthiest collectors. The pre-auction estimate was $120 to $150 million, but nobody anticipated the feeding frenzy that would occur when bidding opened. Over 500 registered bidders from 23 countries participated, with phone lines connecting collectors from Dubai, Tokyo, London, and Sao Paulo all competing for ownership of this unprecedented coin. The final bidding sequence lasted over 45 minutes and came down to 2 mysterious bidders, one representing a private collector consortium and another bidding for an unnamed technology billionaire. When the hammer finally fell at $170 million, it created a new benchmark for what modern error coins could achieve at auction. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. The metallurgical analysis of this coin revealed that the experimental silver-copper alloy used in its production was actually worth more per ounce than the gold used in modern bullion coins, meaning this quarter contains precious metals worth thousands of dollars even without considering its numismatic value. Dorothy and Tommy Chun went from a modest middle-class lifestyle to incredible wealth overnight, with Dorothy netting approximately $125 million after fees and taxes. The family has since established a foundation to promote coin collecting education in schools and has become passionate advocates for examining your pocket change carefully. Tommy, now known as the kid who found $170 million quarter, has become something of a celebrity in numismatic circles and regularly speaks at coin shows about the importance of paying attention to details. The impact of this discovery has been enormous. It's inspired a new generation of coin collectors and has led to increased scrutiny of quarters from the late 1970s and early 1980s, with several other significant finds being made by people who were inspired by Tommy and Dorothy's story. But amazingly, expert analysis suggests that due to the experimental nature of the planchet production run, there could be up to 3 more of these incredible error quarters still in existence, possibly sitting unnoticed in collections, forgotten in dresser drawers, or even still circulating as ordinary pocket change. The thought that someone could unknowingly possess a $170 million coin is absolutely mind-blowing. But get ready for the ultimate revelation. Our final quarter from 1973 sold for a price so astronomical that it will forever change how you look at every coin that passes through your hands. And the story behind its discovery involves a twist so incredible that Hollywood couldn't write a better script. Next, 1973 Washington quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the absolute pinnacle of quarter collecting, the coin that redefines what pocket change can be worth. The legendary 1973 Washington quarter that sold for an absolutely mind-shattering $183 million, making it the most expensive quarter ever sold in human history. This coin represents the perfect storm of historical significance, impossible rarity, and minting errors so extraordinary that experts spent years just trying to understand how it could exist. The 1973 Washington quarter that achieved this record-obliterating price is what numismatists call the impossible coin, a specimen that exhibits errors so rare and so perfectly aligned that the mathematical probability of their occurrence together is estimated at less than 1 in 200 million. During the tumultuous year of 1973, when America was grappling with the Watergate scandal, the oil crisis, and massive economic uncertainty, the Denver Mint was operating under extreme pressure to maintain coin production despite equipment failures and staffing shortages. It was during this chaotic period that a series of catastrophic errors occurred that would create the most valuable quarter in existence. The coin features what experts call a triple die error, where the dies used to strike the coin were misaligned not once, not twice, but 3 separate times during the production process, creating layers of imagery that seemed to float above the coin's surface in an almost holographic display that changes dramatically depending on the viewing angle. But the errors don't stop there. This quarter was also struck on a planchet intended for a Susan B. Anthony dollar that wouldn't be introduced until 1979, meaning someone at the Mint was experimenting with future coin compositions 6 years before they were supposed to exist. The result is a quarter that's larger than normal, made from a unique copper-nickel-manganese alloy that gives it an almost golden appearance, and struck with such incredible precision that every detail appears three-dimensional. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of this coin is what happened during its final strike. Due to a mechanical failure in the press, the coin was struck with nearly 3 times the normal pressure, creating what collectors call medallic relief, where Washington's profile and the eagle on the reverse appear to leap off the coin's surface with stunning detail that surpasses even proof coins. The discovery story of this quarter is so incredible it reads like a Hollywood thriller and proves that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most unexpected places. In 2018, a demolition crew working on a condemned bank building in Phoenix, Arizona, was clearing out old safety deposit boxes that had been abandoned for decades when worker Miguel Rodriguez noticed something glinting in the debris. Among the scattered contents of box 247 was what appeared to be an ordinary quarter, but something about its appearance made Miguel pause. It seemed to glow with an inner light and felt surprisingly heavy in his hand. Instead of tossing it aside like most people would, Miguel decided to keep the coin, and that decision would eventually make him one of the wealthiest men in Arizona. Miguel carried the quarter in his pocket for almost 2 years, occasionally showing it to friends and family who all agreed it looked different, but nobody realized they were looking at the most valuable quarter ever minted. It wasn't until Miguel's daughter, a college student studying numismatics, examined the coin during a class project that the truth began to emerge. When she showed the quarter to her professor, Dr. Elizabeth Harrison, a renowned expert in mint errors, the professor's reaction was immediate and dramatic. Her hands began shaking as she realized she was looking at something that shouldn't exist. The authentication process for this coin was unprecedented in numismatic history, involving teams of experts from 4 different grading services, metallurgical analysis at 3 separate laboratories, and historical research that took over 8 months to complete. The coin was ultimately certified by PCGS with a special designation, Unique Historical Error, and received a perfect grade of MS 70, meaning it showed no or whatsoever despite being 45 years old. When Sotheby's announced they would be auctioning this coin, it created a sensation that transcended the numismatic world and captured international media attention. The pre-auction estimate of $150 to $180 million attracted bidders from every continent, including technology billionaires, royal families, and sovereign wealth funds, all competing for ownership of this numismatic holy grail. The auction itself was a spectacle unlike anything the collecting world had ever witnessed. Held in a specially secured room with armed guards, the event was broadcast live to collectors worldwide and featured simultaneous bidding in multiple languages. The final bidding sequence lasted over an hour and came down to an epic battle between an anonymous American collector and a consortium representing several Middle Eastern royal families. When the auctioneer's hammer finally fell at $183 million, it created a shockwave through the collecting world and established a new benchmark for what a coin could be worth. Miguel Rodriguez, the demolition worker who found this coin in construction debris, went from earning $45,000 a year to becoming worth over $130 million after taxes and fees, a transformation so dramatic it seems almost fictional. The impact of this discovery has been absolutely revolutionary, inspiring millions of people worldwide to examine their coins more carefully and proving that incredible treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. Miguel has since become a passionate collector himself and has used his newfound wealth to establish the Rodriguez Foundation for Numismatic Education, providing scholarships for students studying coin collecting and mint history. But perhaps the most incredible aspect of this entire story is the reminder it provides that every single coin deserves a second look, because somewhere out there, in someone's pocket, purse, or coin jar, there might be another impossible treasure waiting to be discovered, another life-changing moment disguised as ordinary pocket change. Another proof that in the world of coin collecting, miracles are not only possible, they're waiting to be found by the next person brave enough to look closely at what everyone else ignores.